Hey guys, I hope that you're doing well in this week. Just dropping a couple of words of encouragement for you that I hope bless you. I've been dwelling on them these past days and they have blessed me a lot. I'll start with saying that it's really obvious and everybody's aware that right now we can say that not everybody's going okay. There's a lot of grief that people are experiencing. We've been through some tragic and traumatic times. Even if nothing has happened to you, you're very aware of the chaos and the trouble that's happened around you, both in the world, in the church, and maybe in other families that you know. So with all of this in mind, I wanted to share with you two stories that I hope bring you comfort and bring you hope. The first one is the story when Jesus gathers his disciples after ministering to a whole bunch of people, and he says, okay guys, let's go to the other side of the lake. So they leave where they are and they cross the lake, but before they get to the other side, during the night there is a terrible storm. You know the story. Jesus is sleeping in the back of the boat. The disciples are freaking out and they wake him up saying, don't you care that we're about to die? And he rebukes the storm, everything goes calm, and then he rebukes the disciples and says, where was your faith? Why were you so afraid? Some of you might feel like the last 24 months for you has been one giant big storm. It's easy to see that our church, along with almost every other church that I am aware of, has experienced a pretty terrible storm in its own world. And we have experienced a storm. There's been tremendous upheaval. But I'd like to draw the parallel of this, guys, that I feel that God has said to us and has taken us along with the rest of his church worldwide on a journey. I feel that wherever we started from was a good place. But I think it's clear that God has called us almost identically to when Jesus said to his disciples, okay, guys, we're finished here. Now let's hop in the boat and let's go over to the other side. A new place. Remember, it's the same people, it's the same Jesus, it's the same mission, the same calling, but a new place. But before they get to the new place, there's this terrible storm. You might feel like we're there right now, and I want to encourage you. It might feel like God is not answering. He's not doing anything. He's not saying anything. There's no evidence of him in your life right now. And for all intents and purposes, you might feel like God's asleep on you. Well, I want to encourage you that if that's how you feel right now, take a lesson from this story, because when Jesus is asleep, there's a good chance that everything's going to be okay. And you can sleep with him. You can rest with him knowing that he's got it all and you're going to make it through. On the other hand, there's a second story. And this is a story where Paul is on his way to Rome in Acts chapter 27, and he gets shipwrecked. 14 days of a storm blasting the boat off in the middle of the Mediterranean. They end up running aground, getting shipwrecked on the island of Malta. They don't make it to their destination. They get shipwrecked along the way. Well, you might feel that relates to your life right now. That might be how you feel. You might even be saying, Dan, that looks like what's happening to our church. It looks like the ship has run aground, busted up, and everyone's just drifting to the nearest bit of dry land on bits and pieces of junk of busted up ship, just like what happened to Paul. Well, if that's the case, now I don't believe that the church has completely busted apart. It might feel like that for some of us, but here's the good thing. When Paul runs aground, it's actually an opportunity for a whole new tribe of people to hear the gospel. It's an opportunity for the supernatural to break out. Because if you read the story, Paul is bitten by a snake, which leads to a revelation for the people that there's something special about this guy. He introduces them to Jesus. He heals a prominent member of the community who's nearby their shipwreck. A whole bunch of people who are sick and injured come over and they're all healed. So the gospel is presented to a whole new people because of this shipwreck. So you see, God can bring great opportunities out of terrible circumstances. Now, of course, Paul did end up getting to his destination. It took a little bit longer than he wanted to, but he got there. But in the meantime, in the middle of it, the shipwreck actually worked out for the blessing of him, his crew, and for the people that he bumped into along the way. So the parallels we can take from this church are the two stories that we're not where we're going yet, but we've left where we've come from. This is a metaphor speaking, of course. And in the midst of the storm, we can rest, knowing that God has us covered, protected, and has a plan for us because we're on our way to new beginnings, the other side of the lake. Even if, like Paul, we get shipwrecked along the way, God's still got us. So whether the storm's calmed or whether we're shipwrecked in the middle of the ocean, God will work his promises out for us. He makes the best of every situation. As one preacher I've heard say quite correctly, God can win with a pair of twos. You can't out-trump him. You cannot pull a Swiftie on God. He's got everything covered. Church, we can trust him. So whether you feel like it's a huge storm and God's not there, or whether you feel like it's too late, ship is sunk and we're just hanging on for dear life, it actually doesn't matter because God's got it. He'll work the best out for us. So I hope those stories bring encouragement to you. I hope they bless you. Dwell on them if you like. God's with you, church. He's for you, not against you. And he hasn't forgotten you. He's not blind or deaf to your suffering. He's going to work out for you joy, peace, and love. It's going to be good. I can promise you this. God is working it for your benefit. So hang in there, guys. We are not out of the storm yet, but we can fully rest, trusting him that he's got us through it. So I'll leave you with that. I'll see you on Sunday. It's going to be another great day as we gather together. Remember, God is in you. You are the church, and his power is there to work through you and for you. So I bless you. See you soon.